I never understood it. And then I was listening to this podcast and it finally made sense to me, like all the lights went on. Okay, I'm going to say it. Target panic, the dreaded word, or what I like to call anticipation. I'll tell you a story about my shooting, how it all started, and you might relate. I started doing archery when I was a young boy, and in the beginning, it was quite easy for me to shoot. It was so simple. I would bring my bow up, I would put the pin in the middle, and I would shoot the shot. And after a few years, I started noticing I couldn't get the pin on the middle. And then I had this anxiety, and I would even shoot the shot before I'm close to the target. I was about 14 when this happened. After that, I started researching about anticipation or target panic. This was way back in the day, so there was not a lot of info on this problem that I had, but I found this little book. It was a yellow book. This helped me with exercises, and eventually I got my target panic under control. My journey on curing anticipation started with that yellow book. Even though it was a good book, it didn't explain the roots of the problem. And through my years of archery, I've done a lot of research on it. To understand how to beat anticipation or to how to keep it under control, you'll need to understand why it happens to you. And it can be quite frustrating if you don't know. And let's get right into it then. So a few years ago, I mentioned him quite a lot, but it helped a lot for me. I listened to a podcast by Joel Turner. I think it was about 2018. And no one could ever tell me why you get target panic. It was just, they would tell you what to do. And I never understood it. And then I was listening to this podcast and it finally made sense to me, like all the lights went on. And since I understand it better, I can help people better and also myself. To quickly explain how it works is, target panic is basically a reaction on an action. So the bow going off, for instance, your body sees that, or your mind sees that as a threat to your safety. Your mind is there to keep you alive, your subconscious, and it's not designed to shoot a bow. So in other words, you designed to stay alive by dodging spears, like jumping over snakes before you even know what it is. It's that reaction on an action before you even know what it is. That's basically what happens. It sees your bow going off as a threat. And that's why when you're trying to get your pin on the target and you're holding low, and as soon as you get up, you feel anxiety to shoot, your mind knows that when you get that pin on the target, you're going to shoot, and it doesn't like that. That's why it's keeping you off the target, and that's why it's sitting at 6 o'clock. They call it 6 o'clock lock for a reason. So to take it further and to make you understand it better, if I walk by you and you can imagine this, and we're standing around and I walk by you and I punch you on the shoulder, and the next time I walk by you again, but this time I don't hit you, I just pretend to be hitting you, and you will react on my action. That's all that happens. Your mind is protecting you. And in today's world, if you're driving and you swerve out for a car or something in the road before you even know what it is, it's the same thing. And that's how our brains or our subconscious keeps us alive, but it works against our archery skills. The following info I'm going to share with you is quite important. So please listen up and pay attention, because this will really help you to understand if you have a problem or how to solve this. There are 3 elements that needs to be present as a combo to manifest your target panic or your anticipation in a shot. If one of these elements are missing, you're not going to feel the anxiety. The first element is your pin needs to be on the target. The second one is your bow is about to fire. So in other words, your fingers on the trigger, or you arrived at your click on your hinge, or you got your thumb on the thumb barrel. And the last one is, the third one is, you need to be at full draw. So if all these elements are present, that's when you're going to feel the anxiety. Okay, to test my theory, we're going to do 3 tests now. We're going to have each test, we're going to have 2 present, and we're going to leave 1 out. And then you won't feel the anxiety. You can go ahead and test this theory now if you want. Okay, so if you take your bow and you don't draw it, you physically just hold it up and you have your release in your hand and you put your finger on the trigger and you aim, you won't feel anxiety because you're not at full draw. So that's the one that's missing. The second one is you draw up your bow, you don't aim on a target, and you put your finger on the trigger or the thumb barrel, or you arrive at the click, but you don't aim on the target. You won't feel anxiety because your pin is not on the target. And then the last one is you draw up your bow, you put your pin in the middle of the target, but you never arrive at the bow is about to shoot. So you don't put your finger on the trigger, or you don't arrive at the click, or you don't put your thumb on the thumb barrel. You also won't feel the anxiety. Here's some other subtle clues that you might have target panic. If you bet at 3D, then target archery, there's a manifestation of target panic that might be starting to develop. The other one is if you like shooting in the wind, but when it's calm, you get more anxiety because your pin is on the target and your mind doesn't like that. And the third one is if you are aiming and you put your pin in the middle and everything feels fine, and as soon as you put your finger on the trigger or you start rotating and you get your click or you got your thumb on the barrel and then you see a little bit of movements, like more than you would have if you're not about to shoot, that is also a clue that target panic is manifesting inside you. And the fourth one is whenever you don't feel in control and you can't do things on control, it feels like someone's controlling it for you and your mind goes a little bit crazy and you can't explain a lot of things in your shooting, then it also means that target panic is creeping up on you. That's bad news. But there is good news. Rather know it and you can do something about it than not knowing it and you don't even know that you have to do something about it. And I want you to keep on shooting and I want you to enjoy. I mean, we want to keep people in archery. That's why I'm giving you this info away, because I don't want people to quit on archery. And like anticipation will make you quit, but you don't need to. We can solve this together, and that's why I started this program. Anticipation is also accelerated by your environment. It means you will get it quicker if you are in a certain environment. Example, to start off with, I find that a lot of guys that play impact sports, like football players, rugby players, boxers, something that where you take big hits, you are more prone to have a bigger reaction on the bow going off because your mind is so conditioned to protect you and you're so used to taking hits that, the movement and the pre-ignition movement that you get is more. But also in our own game, if you are shooting a lot in the wind and you're shooting on timers, like in competition, and there's lots of pressure, then it also accelerates target panic. And the probability of getting it is a lot more and a lot sooner. Like, for example, World Archery is all those things I mentioned. So also a good idea while we're busy, if you feel that you're getting target panic and you do World Archery style shooting, maybe go over to 3D a little bit, or just shoot indoors where you take one of the elements away, but there's high pressure again. So it might be a good idea if you're battling with some anticipation issues, is to just change the environment you're in. Maybe go shoot 3D a little bit. That's like a competition that you don't physically aim for something as much as a field target or a World Archery target. You're aiming off something, or there's not such a defined aiming point that you're aiming at, and then at least that takes one of the elements away. And also there tends to be no clock. There tends to be, it's usually not as windy because you're shooting in the woods, but that's a better competition to shoot if you are struggling with target panic. So here's the good news. If you feel you have some issues with your shooting and you feel anxiety or you feel some anticipation, or you can relate to anything I've said today, I've got some good news for you. We're going to do a 4-week program where I'm going to do it with you. I'm going to take you step by step. We're going to do a whole program on this, starting with week 1. We're going to do a rehab. The next week is going to be the foundation phase. Week 3 is going to be restoration phase. And week 4 is going to be the transition phase. I really think this is a groundbreaking program, and I hope you do too. And if you do, hit that subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on the next videos. And then follow this program with me, and I promise you, you'll be a better shooter when you're done with this program. We'll see you soon with week 1 for rehab.